Jesse Minter has finally broken his silence about the Baltimore Ravens free agency, and what he said goes way beyond simple praise. During the introduction of Trey Hendrickson, the new head coach opened up about some of the players the team has brought in. He also dropped a few very interesting hints about what really stood out to him in these signings. And when a head coach talks like that is early in his tenure, it usually means those players could end up having a much bigger role on the team than many people might be expecting. During the presentation of Trey Hendrickson, Jesse Minter ended up revealing something that really caught attention. When he was asked about the team's new additions, the coach talked about Jaylinn Hawkins with a level of excitement that didn't sound like the typical press conference answer. Minter highlighted that Hawkins is coming off a really strong season and described him as exactly the type of player who can help the defense in multiple situations on the field. The biggest point that stood out in Minter's comment was versatility. He explained that Hawkins is the kind of safety who can do a little bit of everything in the defense. He's not just a player sitting deep in coverage, protecting against the long pass. He can move around, adjust his positioning, and take part in different defensive looks. In a modern defensive system like the one the Baltimore Ravens run, having a player like that can completely change how the defense operates during a game. And when a new head coach goes out of his way to highlight a player like that right at the beginning of his tenure, it usually says a lot about the role he already has in mind for that athlete. But Hawkins wasn't the only addition who received direct praise from Minter, because when the conversation shifted to the offensive side of the ball, another name also got some very interesting comments from the coach. When the conversation turned to Durham Smythe, Jesse Minter shifted the focus, but the positive tone stayed exactly the same. The coach made it clear that Smythe didn't arrive simply as another tight end to fill out the roster. According to Minter, he's exactly the type of player the coaching staff was looking for at that specific position within the offense of the Baltimore Ravens. Minter started by highlighting something that often goes unnoticed by people who only look at statistics. The player's profile. He described Smythe as a great human being and someone who fits extremely well within the team's culture. For an organization like the Baltimore Ravens, where identity and locker room culture have always been taken seriously, comments like that usually suggest the player was chosen not only for what he does on the field, but also for the impact he can have inside the locker room. Another detail Minter pointed out was Smythe's connection with the new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. The two already have some professional familiarity, and that could speed up the adaptation process inside the offense. In other words, there's a clear expectation that Smythe could fit into the system fairly quickly, and while this addition helps stabilize the offensive structure, there was another player Minter praised for a completely different reason: the energy he brings to the team. And you, Ravens fan, tell me down in the comments what you think about the addition of Durham Smythe. When Jesse Minter talked about John Simpson, the focus wasn't just on the player's talent, it was on the intensity he brings every time he steps on the field. The coach made it clear that Simpson is the type of player who plays with a different level of energy, something that can end up influencing the entire offensive line unit. According to Minter, that passion for the game tends to be contagious within a group. He even used an interesting phrase to explain it, describing Simpson as an energy multiplier. Basically, meaning that when a player competes with that kind of intensity, it naturally raises the level of everyone around him. And for an offensive line, where coordinator, toughness and aggression are so important, that kind of presence can completely change the dynamic of the unity. At the end of the day, what became clear from Minter's comments is that the Baltimore Ravens didn't just chase big names in this free agency period. Each addition seems like to have been made with a specific role in mind. Hawkins brings versatility to the defense, Smythe fits into the offensive structure, and Simpson adds energy to the offensive line. 3 different additions that, according to the head coach himself, could strengthen the team in several ways at the same time. By the end of that press conference, one thing became very clear from the words of Jesse Minter. The Baltimore Ravens didn't bring these players in by accident. Its signing appears to have been made with a very specific purpose in mind. Whether it's versatility on defense, style on offense, or the kind of energy that can lift an entire unit. Now I want to hear from you. What did you think about Minter's comments on the Ravens free agency moves? Do you think these additions can really make a difference next season? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, because I'd really like to hear what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.